And we're back. Jeff, how do you think about the game, mate? How you going?
Oh, much better, much better. Definitely makes your entire day. You go to work, you see Leicester, they win. At the end of the day, it's a good day.
Awesome, mate. Couldn't be any better. Did you I didn't get a chance to ask, did you watch the entire you just get done watching the entire game or the highlights?
Most of it, really, most of the
Perfect.
entire first half, and then most of the second half too. Yeah.
Sweet, dude. So let's get into it, man. How did you feel about the first half? Were you surprised that we would have conceded the way we did?
Yes, I wasn't surprised to concede, but I was surprised to concede so soon. Um, Typically, the way we start a match is always we put pressure, we have more possession, and just two beautiful goals. Both counterattacks and just pace from the start. You have Daka, you have Amadidi, and you have Fatu. So yeah, two pacey players, and just the way we were able to just do it right on that counterattack, the first try, and certainly it was just great with the Mabdi. What a way to finish, and what a way to celebrate in front of the Birmingham fans.
It was perfect, and you hit the nail on the head. It was both. It was an end-to-end game, and like we don't usually play the counter game, but geez, when we did, it worked. Like it was effective. All the passing, transition was absolutely perfect. I couldn't have been happier as well myself. But like you said, I was surprised to concede early. But I want to know what you thought. I think it was a pass from Ricardo where they hit us on that counter, and it looked like it was in between. I think it was Fatawu and someone else. Like I got to go back and watch it again, but it looked like a bit of a miscommunication. Maybe no one wanted to claim the ball, and they hit us quick. And credit to them, they took their chance well. But the second goal was a bit of a. We'll get onto that in a bit, but that was a bit of a clusterfuck. But other than that, I thought the first half, like KDH was just and Mavididi just completely controlled that game for me. What were your thoughts on that first half in terms of performance?
Yeah, I thought Mabdi played great for both halves. The first half, I definitely you do see his progression. He's progressing. He's just having fun. He's very skillful. Definitely the right back of Birmingham had no chance against Mamadidi. He was just crossover, step overs. He was just getting right through, and certainly had so many chances to score more goals. And KDH, yeah, the pace. He's not a tall player, but he's pacey, and just what a way to finish. What a way to cut to the left and take do a 1v1 against the keeper, and then just perfectly, not nervous at all. Just have a go at the open goal.
Beautiful, mate. It was very Jamie Vardy has taken that last touch around the keeper. It was awesome to see. And like you said, Mavididi, absolutely amazing. And his pace and in terms of what you said with his form lately, I absolutely agree. I thought he kind of started really well when he first started at our first few games, and then he kind of was a bit hot and cold and inconsistent. But I actually agree with you, mate. I reckon the last 2 to 3 games, he's been getting better and better. And like this is when like he should be hitting his straps. I believe he's 25, and I think Keenan Juice Hall's 25 or 26 as well. So prime years, mate. Prime years. And mentioning before, Fatawu, Daka, and Mavididi as a front three, that is absolutely brutal in terms of pace. And then you got Keenan Drewsby behind him. Harry Winks just picking out all his passes beautifully. I thought we completely, other than conceding, I felt comfortable that entire first half. And we'll get into the second half in a second. But before we do, I'm curious to ask you what you think about Daka. And I know he scored in the last 2 games. For me, his link-up play was really good, but he had one unfortunate chance where he went to turn and take his off his left foot, and they put in a good challenge. But other than that, he was a little bit poor on the ball. Would you say in front of goal, or am I being harsh?
Well, I think he did have one of the first chances of the match in that first half, where I think it was a short breakaway, and I think it was KDH that gave a pass on the left side to Daka. Daka tried to shoot, but just didn't get enough power there. Yes, now I think with this system that we're playing, the way Daka has been playing, he's mostly just been the kind of striker that will hold the ball and wait for support, or just do a quick little dink to keep the play in the attack. As far as the Daka that we know, the one that receives through balls 1v1 with the keeper, not so much today, not so much recently, really.
That's a good point, mate. Exactly. So I asked this myself if we were to see him, and the same thing with Cannon as well, particularly of how Kalechi plays and kind of always has played of his back to goal. You're right. He is usually an off the shoulder kind of striker, similar to Vardy, Daka, right? But that was my biggest question. If he was to come in, would he play? That's how Enzo wants him to play, back to goal, dropping deep, linking up play. And for that reason, I think Maresca would probably be happy with him. And it goes to show that he's obviously been working this in training, waiting for his chance, and credit to him. Do you think we persist with Daka going forward based off
Uh,
that?
yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Whether Daka would be that player that we still count on, in the long term. Certainly, I think just based on how the system has been going now, and just being a lone striker up top, the kind of style that he wants to play, Doc wants to play, necessarily won't be there. But perhaps if we include a second striker, maybe Kalichi Nacho, to go along with Doc, then perhaps there will be that more opportunities for Daka's kind of balls to receive, through balls over the shoulder.
It's I agree, and it's a weird one because both him and Kel are going to go to AFCON, as well as Fatau and Didi. I want to touch on that later, but in terms of that's why I think Kalechi didn't come on that second half, because he obviously had to pick Daka. He's been having decent form, and while Kel was away, he took his chance. And then as for Cannon, we have to have minutes in his legs. We've got to have him ready for when they all go. We can't just have Vardy playing full 90 minutes week in, week out. The strange one for me is if Kel doesn't put pen to paper by before the transfer window closes in January, and if someone were to come and and make a decent bid for him, do you think we have to be ruthless and let him go rather than let anyone else walk for free? Because to me, I love Kalechi, but I don't think he's set for what I expected before the season. I thought he was going to rip this championship apart, and he kind of hasn't, to be fair. And do you think we'd be ruthless and sell him? I know Daka's only got, I think, another year left in his contract also, but how do you feel about January? Because I'll wait till later. I want to get on to January actually a bit early, but what do you say about Kel?
Well, I think we've been in this type of thought, many times where we would just ask ourselves, is Kalichi Nacho a striker that we want to have next season, or should we sell him in the next transfer window? And usually when it gets around that time, he begins to play well. He begins to score goals, and then we change our minds. So there is inconsistency there with Kalichi and Nacho. You're right. In recent matches, he hasn't been scoring goals. Just going into the championship from the start, we were just already saying if Cristiano can score goals in the Premier League, then most certainly can double that, triple that in the championship. But it is under a new manager, a new system, and it just looks like it's not necessarily looking to be what Kalichi and Nacho, what we thought it would be for Kalichi Nacho, and then scoring more goals. So I think when it comes to promotion, getting to the Premier League next season, that's if we do, then there will be some serious thought into perhaps what we may have to risk someone that, though we adore much, and what he's done for the club, for the best of the club and best of both parties. Probably think of a different striker.
Perfect, I agree. That's good. That second half, the second goal for Mavididi, that was just that, but it was beautifully set out as well by Winks. Again, just flies under the radar. As Anil likes to say, he's the heartbeat of our team. He really is, mate. People sometimes say he'll have a quiet game, but everything he does, a lot of the ball is set up, I reckon, particularly from him and Vestergaard are integral to distributing the ball. The game was starting to get pretty heated, mate. And also want to mention, I'm just looking at my notes here, I thought JJ was kind of soundly beaten that first half by, what was that guy's name? Dembele. He was a good player, I thought.
Yeah, and I think, James Justin, he that kind of 1v1s, trying to defend those, he necessarily has been great at. And it kind of also got me to thinking of whether he's another player that we should count on for next season if we go to the Premier League. I think he was a tremendous player, right around the 2020, 2021 season. Just pace just wouldn't necessarily easily be beaten. He would be that, left back, but also right winger and just attack, just a full on, like, just explosive player that would be, would give an opportunity to score a goal. And you just don't see that anymore from James Justin. Not sure if it's the injuries, but yes, definitely, just seeing this lack of just getting beaten easily is necessarily no surprise to me.
That's okay. Thank you. You hit the nail on the head. I agree. Like, is it injuries? Is it him playing in a back three? I wouldn't say he's been terrible by any means, right? But I can't recall a time where I've been like, JJ had a really, really good game, And it's got me thinking as well, because we didn't see him really feature much at all while Callum Doyle was available, and it makes me wonder if, like, he didn't get injured, how much of JJ would be really be seeing? Which leads to your point, like, if we do go to the Premier League again, is he someone we sell? Because to be honest with you, I was really surprised that we kept him. I thought he would be one of the first players that would want to leave once we got relegated.
Yeah, I think the injury is what held him back, and just other clubs wanting to perhaps buy him. But yeah, there you definitely do see, when you see one massive, incredible James Justin, and you see him now how he's playing, you definitely do see a big difference. So it's no surprise that not just me but other people can notice that as well. If he was a player that necessarily didn't play as great, then there probably wouldn't be no difference. But there was a massive difference compared to when he came to the club versus now. And just also forget that he's a player that has an English cap, cap for the senior team. So you definitely do see how much it's just been declining, sadly.
It is sad, and I think he was as well picked for the England squad, and he got injured, I think, right before, just after he got selected. So it is a shame, and I wish him all the best. And like, again, I don't think he's been absolutely terrible, but he's not been, like you said, at his best. And going that second half, there was quite a few. Fatawa was brilliant as well on that right hand side. Had a few wayward shots at goal, but in terms of his ball distribution and just our wingers just absolutely like spreading teams and just nearly beating them at one-on-one nearly every single time. And then when you've got Daka or our strikers, coming to that false nine position, dropping deep, linking that play, it's you can really, for me, starting to see like how Maresca wants us to play, really starting to click over the last 3 to 4 matches. I believe has been excellent. But in saying that, though, the caveat that is, this is the second game straight where we've conceded more than one goal. Does that worry you at all, or do you think it's yeah?
I think it's more annoying than worrying, because I know, we know the club, we know our players. It just, the goals that are where we get scored on are just foolish goals, lack of just concentration, and just you lose the ball, whether on their side or the middle of the field, and then you lack players to defend the counter attack, and yeah, I think Maresca I said it too, that there are goals that we should have not conceded. But the first goal, I think, for Birmingham was great. It was their goal. It was a good goal. But the second goal was just a lack of concentration, deflection, and then we come to like the last 15 minutes of the match, just trying to hope hope they don't draw the match. But yeah, just these past two matches where it's been just a one goal difference, and just it's just not necessary. But we have to just somehow moving forward, just make sure we don't let silly goals in.
Yeah, we are playing a high risk football sometimes, and like the majority of our goals have all just been from a sloppy pass, and we are going to play it from the back and play that high position football. So we can expect goals like that. We've all kind of said that earlier, but it is to be expected. But the asterisk is credit. Let's cross that bridge when we get there. But a lot of those questions are of concern. If this were the Premier League, we would have got buried there, and we've gotten lucky quite a few times. But we'll cross that bridge, like I said, when we come to it. In terms of subs, now I'm just going to quickly share something here because I want to ask you what you think about this, and there's another point I really want to ask you later, but just share this up here. I want to ask you, mate, the first sub, what you thought of Chowdhury and how he played, how he reshaped, and also I really want to ask you about what you think about the bench. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, let me just 1 second. Yeah, what do you think of that, mate? We used to. For me, we got two goalkeepers there, three centre backs, and granted we do have injuries, right? we had Chowdhury, who I came in, I thought it was a little sloppy on the ball, to be honest. And then we took Mavididi off, who was playing sensational, right? But I think that was kind of to protect him. I think he was already on a yellow, but it would have been nice to see him get a hat trick. But I thought Chowdhury was sloppy, but Keenan Dewsbury Hall for me doesn't suit playing on the left wing at all. I think that's what that didn't. There was a complete tempo change after that, and Keenan Dewsbury Hall is so good at those carrying the ball, those big runs, taking the ball forward. I think that kind of nullifies that aspect of his game, putting him on the wing. But we had two goalkeepers, three centre backs in Cody, Sutar, and Nelson. Chowdhury, as we just mentioned, came on. Cassidy, he also came on for all of like 3 or 4 minutes. Had a brilliant run in the box and should have buried that goal, to be honest, but went wide. But Cannon, as you know, came on. I thought I'll ask you about him in a minute, but no Kell, which I can understand. But the big question for me, mate, is I just want to ask you this: where was Pratt? Was he injured? Is there something I don't know? Because for me, I
Yeah,
would rather. Sorry, go on.
no, I totally agree. When I saw the lineup, I was like, "Where's Dennis Pratt? Why is he not playing? Why is he not on the bench?" I didn't necessarily hear anything about injury. Also, Eunice, I don't know if he's injured, but yeah, as far as like creative players like Pratt, like Eunice, what we have off the bench, the closest I could say is Cassidy, and he's not even a creative player in my opinion. But yeah, that's the
Yeah, I
closest
agree.
on the bench.
So that's the thing, right? Got me thinking. So unless it comes out and this is just stupid conspiracy talk because it comes out that maybe he copped a knock or something. But let's say that he wasn't selected at all. With Wilfred and Didi about to go to AFCON, right? The times we have seen Pratt played, he's played in his position, that right hand side, high pressing eight. And we've also seen him come on for Keenan Dewsbury Hall. I agree with you about Cassidy, right? I feel like he cannot be relied upon week in, week out. And if we're not going to buy him, and he is he's one of the only loan options we have other than Doyle, I think, with no option to buy, why are we developing him? Like, if it's not clicking for him, he hasn't really done it for me. But Pratt is that other option, right, when it comes to AFCON. Now, if we haven't even seen him on the bench, that could be a strong indicator that he's on his way out in January, and which is why I think I can see us going for players in January. And if we do, I will add this as well. I know it's getting a little bit ahead of myself, but if we are to get players in January, I would much like to see getting us in more hungry and ambitious youth, developing them for should we go to the Premier League. They've had that time to develop in the Championship. And this is, again, I'm getting ahead of myself if we are to be promoted, but I would like to see us get quality in the next transfer window and develop the youth now. What do you say to that? I hate you have many questions. Sorry.
I mean, just the way things are right now. Us being in first, we're up by 3 points against Ipswich, 13 with Leeds in third. I think at this moment, the club already knows that they have to really take advantage of the transfer window, especially with the AFCON coming up. We haven't made, I think, more than 2 signings in recent years during the January transfer window.
Yes.
So I think we may be in for a surprise this coming January to see who comes in, and specifically the players that will be stepping out for the AFCON. We may include like replacements for that time being. But yes, I think with these transfers hopefully coming in, they have to be something that's in the long term.
Yes, I 100% agree, mate. And I'll get this up for you. I don't know if you've had a look yet, but let me just share this on screen. Give me 1 second. Share screen and okay. Here we are, the table. Now Leicester and now 3 points clear of Ipswich. And I believe this weekend Ipswich is playing Leeds, if I'm not mistaken, which is excellent for us. I hope they draw, and that would just separate us even more. But the biggest point to look at here is I think we are, is it 13 points clear of Leeds, mate? What do you make of that? You must be happy to see that.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. We've been in this situation before, and we've dropped, or we kind of like closed that gap a little bit in the past, but we're back there. So hopefully now we don't, we keep it that way and we expand it even more. Hopefully by the end of this weekend, it expands to 16 points. That if Ipswich win, but I think you're right. A draw probably would be better.
A draw would be good, and that's the thing, mate. Like if we continue to separate ourselves from third, right? The more points, the more we bridge, keep that gap. If we are to hit another blip like we did early this season against Middlesbrough and Leeds, we can afford to. You don't want to drop any points, right? And we know the championship's quite hard, but it gives you that little bit of like we can kind of relax sort of thing. Like, because after the season we've just been through, which was totally stressful and horrible to watch, the further we separate ourselves from them, like I said, is the better. How do you feel about the last 5 minutes? Were you nervous or you felt comfortable?
Well, I think based off, we had some chances, like Cassidy had his chance. Have we conceded late on? Yes. But I think this entire season, just after maybe a couple of the first three games, necessarily did not feel nervous as much as I would when we were in the Premier League of conceding, the last minute. I think we're just good enough to score, even if we're down by one goal, just to come back. Just the quality of players that we have, I just feel much more comfortable in actually seeing what the end result and looking forward to the end result rather than seeing what's going on at the moment, whether we're one goal down or we're drawing and it's like the 70th minute. I still think, somehow we always find a way to get a positive result.
I agree, mate. It's nothing like last season. I know it's, again, granted, a league below, but I felt very confident in our team and keeping it together. And like you said, it's nice. And 3 points is 3 points, and it doesn't matter as long as we keep racking them up. Then long may it shall it continue. Just to wrap it up here, Leicester versus Rotherham is our next game. Rotherham have been awful lately, so I'm hoping, touch wood, I don't want to put another banana peel out, but we should bury them. We keep talking about getting a massive win and putting someone to the sword. You must be pretty excited heading into this game.
Yes, half excited and half, I still gotta see. We still gotta see what happens because we played Sheffield Wednesday and we thought that was gonna be a blowout for us, but it didn't. And somehow we're like the Robin Hood. We steal from the rich and sometimes get to the poor. So we gotta see. Honestly, but yes, we're coming off two great wins. So we're 3 points ahead. We have a huge advantage. Leeds versus Ipswich, so we must not lose this match or draw against them, especially at the KP. We have to win.
Absolutely. Shout out to Jeff giving a anti-jinx to my me getting too excited and too keen and eager early. Mate, who was your man of the match?
Oh, Mavdidi, all day.
Hands down? All day.
Yeah.
No dispute.
From the first goal, the celebration, that was a cherry on top.
It was absolutely brilliant. I was ashamed that we couldn't keep him on because I thought he was absolutely awesome, but I guess we had to protect him. But it would have been nice to see him hit his hat trick. For me, I've already given mine out. Less Until I Die. If you're watching this, please check them out. He's awesome. Less Until I Die, and Chris. But I went for Keenan Dewsbury Hall only because of unfortunate, not due to his fault, Mavididi being taken off. But Keenan Dewsbury Hall for me, that goal was brilliant. His runs, his distribution. I thought he's really been brilliant the last couple of weeks. So good to see him picking up some more consistent form as well. But absolutely agree with you as well with Mavididi. It was very hard for me. I was saying to myself during the game, this is going to be a tricky one, and that's the only reason why I stuck with Keenan Dewsbury Hall. But Jeff, anything else you want to add before we wrap this up, mate?
Well, I think we just talk a little bit about Tom Cannon. I definitely did.
Thank you.
This was the first match I saw about Tom. I saw Tom play, and just seeing how he plays. He's definitely somewhat similar to Kelechi Iheanacho, but also has a little bit more pace. I think from what I saw, it's definitely there's much more to see from Tom Cannon. So I'm assuming he will play against Rotherham. Leicester would want to rest some players, given that they play Ipswich 3 days later, or 2 days later, or 2 days of rest really before the Ipswich match. So I probably would expect Tom Kane to play up top against Rotherham on Saturday.
Thank you for I forgot about Tom Cannon. No, you're absolutely right. That's the thing we were talking earlier with like before Daka got a game under Enzo, would we see him drop deep like Kel? And even we've been seeing Vardy do it's clearly what he wants, that false nine. And you're absolutely right. That is what he did right from the get go when I first seen him play. You can tell he looks hungry for that goal, and I definitely think he's gonna be. I don't know if he'll start against Rotherham, but we're definitely going to see him get some minutes. Getting him ready for that January because we're going to see a lot of him. So I'll be happy and excited for him to get a goal, just to get that that little bit of confidence and that little bit of pep in his step. But I agree. I think he's got a decent amount of pace. He's a big boy for a striker, and he's got a bit of pace to him. So I'm really excited about him, mate, and I hope it clicks for him because we're going to be counting on him come January.
Yes, definitely. We bought him for a reason, so hopefully, that it was a good reason. We get a good investment out of it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a statement signing as well. I think it's a 5-year deal, similar to Mads. Once we signed Mads, I was like, oh, like for that amount of years, I was like, that's a statement. We're backing him for the long-term plan. So for you, also actually, Mads Manson, how do you think he played? Are you happy with him?
I mean, we know what he can do. He's definitely an important keeper that can play, with the ball at his feet. And I think that's different compared to the old goalkeepers that we had in the past. So he's a work in progress. He's certainly not Kasper Schmeichel, but definitely a couple more games. We're only halfway into the season. There's still some time to see him develop. But yes, I think he's the best keeper we had ever since Kasper Schmeichel.
I agree. I actually really like him, mate. I think his ball distribution is like amazing, and sometimes it's cost us, and it's almost like the polar opposite of Ward. It's like he's not nervous and shaky in the ball. He's almost too confident. He'll play same as Yannick. They'll take a dangerous pass sometimes, but 90% of the time they've both been sensational. And he made one quick thing to mention. He did make, I've got it in my notes here, he made a great clearing if he fisted the ball out. That's something that Schmeichel never used to do, like really command his box. And so I thought, he wasn't really at fault for the first goal. There's not a whole lot he can do. The second one was weird, but I like Mads a lot. Mate, I'm going to wrap this up here. Thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it. Give a shout out to where people can find you and follow you.
Yeah, Fox to Fox Report on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok.
Beautiful. All right, mate. Well, thanks for coming on, mate. Really enjoyed it, and hopefully Leicester turn over Rotherham on the weekend.
Oh yeah, let's go.